excited to see you today. And today we're going to do something awesome. Today we're going to do something awesome. Today we're going to talk about the Wheel of Freedom. I know, right? Pretty exciting. Hi, my name is Rhonda Britton, founder of the Fearless Living Institute, four-time best-selling author, Emmy Award winner, blah, blah, blah. But the most important thing you need to know about me is that I'm a woman who's been through it, and I came out on the other side just like you. We all have our stories. And one of the things that changed my life, the thing that changed my life, was understanding that there was nothing wrong with me. There was nothing wrong with me, and it was just fear having its way with me. And that concept, that insight, that thought changed everything for me, like everything. So until then, you know, when I was going through my 3 DUIs, my alcoholism, my 3 suicide attempts, after witnessing the murder of my mother and the suicide of my father, you know, I did everything the right way. I went to therapy, did everything, read books, went to workshops, and it did not take away the feeling that there was something wrong with me, that I was truly not good enough, and that I was, perhaps you could even say, damaged goods. And I was frightened of myself. So if you're somebody who has done a lot of work on yourself or have tried a lot of things and haven't figured out like why you still feel this way, I am so excited you're here, because you are the person that is, I'll just say that you're the person that has the life experience to understand the gift of understanding what fear is and how it works. So over the last few days, we've been talking about the Wheel of Fear, and now we're going to talk about the Wheel of Freedom. So the Wheel of Fear, as I shared, has 4 components, and the Wheel of Freedom has 4 components. And if you're wondering, Wheel of Fear, Rhonda, I haven't seen the Wheel of Fear. Well, that's the last 4 episodes. So you get to go back and watch part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4 of the Wheel of Fear. And this is the good news. When you start discovering what your Wheel of Fear is, when you start the process of understanding how fear really works, it basically helps. Well, I know for me, it melted the shame of my past. It put me in the present. I didn't have to relive all the pain and the suffering that I did through the 20 years before I realized fear was the culprit. And remember, I never said I'm afraid or I'm scared ever a day in my life. I grew up in Upper Michigan, Upper Minnesota. I'm Finnish. I have Sisu. And no, don't ever say I'm scared. Don't ever say I'm afraid, ever. So when I realized it was fear, when it came to me, when it moved through me that it was fear, it was as shocking to me as it may be to you right now. And so the last 4 episodes, we've been talking about the Wheel of Fear and how it works. And I also promised you the antidote to the Wheel of Fear, because that's really what we want, isn't it? Like, yes, we want to understand how fear works. That's nice, Rhonda. And I'm going to stop here, because you actually do want to understand how fear works, because that is what eliminates the shame. Now, today we're going to talk about the Wheel of Freedom. We're going to start that journey together. And that is important, and that is valuable, and that is meaningful. And of course, it's the antidote to fear. So we totally want to know it. Yet I do not want you to rush towards freedom without understanding how fear has held you back, because I know that you think that you, just like me, probably don't have any fear, right? And again, right now in the world that we're living in, we're more awake to the fear in the world, a fear in our family, the fear in our community, the fear maybe even inside of us. So again, today we're going to talk about the Wheel of Freedom, but please don't skip the Wheel of Fear videos, because if you don't understand how fear works, freedom ain't going to help you, because you're not going to know how to get on to freedom. When I describe the Wheel of Fear, I show you the 4 points on when you can move to freedom. And if you don't know that, you're going to just start here, and I'm going to tell you, you're going to miss a whole big thing, and you're not really going to be able to do the work properly, and you're not really going to get it. And you're going to say, Rhonda, this doesn't work for me. And I'm going to be like, did you do the Wheel of Fear? And you're going to say no. And I'm going to say, well, if you don't do the work, I can't help you, right? So it's really important that you get the best Wheel of Fear for you, the wheel that's really yours, not the wheel you want, but the wheel that's yours, right? The Wheel of Fear that's yours. And that's why it's really important that you work with a coach, and in order to help you kind of suss through that. But don't worry, I've got something that I've got planned for you to help you find your Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom. Okay, so if you haven't watched the Wheel of Fear episodes, please go back and watch those after today's, because like I said, today we are going to start on the wheel of freedom, 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 freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh my gosh. I have to say that just even singing that, do you know how many years I thought something was wrong with me? Do you know how many years I beat myself up and put myself down? Do you know how many years I drank and oh my gosh. The fact that I don't have those negative thoughts anymore, the fact that I am not trapped and wonder like what's wrong with me. Do you understand that I never ask myself what's wrong with me? I have space up here to create, and that's what I want for you. Anyway, okay. All right. I just got excited about the word freedom. What can I say? I'm a freedom gal because I want you to have freedom. All right. So let me make sure that I got my board so you can see it. And just like last time, we're going to do one aspect of the wheel of freedom. Just like we did the wheel of fear, we did one aspect at a time. Today, we're going to do one aspect of the wheel of freedom. Okay. So make sure I get it in view here. All right. So I didn't make a great circle. Love me anyway. All right. So here's the wheel of freedom. Okay. I can't have a lopsided wheel of freedom. I just can't. I just can't do it. It just doesn't work. It's freedom. It's got to, no, I can't do it. Okay. Oh, there's a thing here. Oh, well, let's just say it's the best I can get because I can see now that there is a thing in the board. Anyway, so we're just going to go here and you're going to love me anyway. Now remember, the wheel of fear went righty-tighty. If you grew up in the Midwest, you probably heard the phrase righty-tighty, right? And that's how you learned, a screwdriver, right? Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Well, the wheel of fear, if you remember, was righty-tighty. It was like, well, the wheel of freedom is lefty-loosey. That's right, right? The wheel of fear is righty-tighty. The wheel of freedom is lefty-loosey because it loosens you. The minute you get on your wheel of freedom, you start letting go of that stress, letting go of that anxiety, letting go of that beating yourself up, letting go of that shame, that blame, that burden, that victimization, all of those things that keep us stuck, same and small. Because remember, what does fear want us to do? Repeat the past. Why? Because that's how we know we're safe. That's how it knows we're safe. Because remember, the brain automatic response only looks at templates from the past. That's how we're wired. Remember, we're wired this way. So unless we make choice and make a decision, we'll always look back before we ever are in the present and before we ever can create a new future, right? So we want to move forward, right? That's what we want to do. That's what coaches, that's what I do every day and help support people. And my coaches do for their clients. We move people forward past their fear and into freedom. So let's talk about the 4 aspects of the wheel of freedom. So number 1, it's called your essential nature. It's called your essential nature. Oh man, I love this one. I love essential nature. So I'm going to talk about essential nature today, and then we're going to talk about proactive behaviors, and then we're going to move into the other 2. And then I'm going to talk about essential nature again, because I can't fully explain essential nature. You won't really understand all the aspects of it until you see the whole model in play, right? So, but let's talk about what an essential nature is. For me, in Fearless Living, how we describe it in Fearless Living is the essential nature is that part of you that you hid a long time ago because it wasn't safe to expose it. Remember, the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom were created by the time you were 5. And remember, it's not just your environment, how you were raised, the people around you that decided what your Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom is. Remember, our fears are also handed down through our DNA. So you may not even know what experience you had, right? In fact, I feel moved to say this. So let me just stop here for a second and really talk about fear. And I like to think of it this way. Everybody thinks that fear, my mother was murdered by my father committed suicide, and everybody thinks, well, Rhonda, you have a big fear. Of course you do fear because that was a big fear. again, my wheel of fear wasn't formed when I was 14 years old and witnessed that. My wheel of fear was way formed by the time I was 5. So how does a wheel of fear get formed? Again, remember it's DNA, which is not the part I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about your life experience. But just imagine that, you're a little baby and you're a year old and you're hungry. What do babies that are hungry? They wah, 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 right? They want their bottle and they cry to get their bottle. And you, the caretaker, come and bring the bottle. And what do babies do when they see the bottle? Oh, they stop crying. They're like, yeah, I got the bottle. This is so awesome. I got the bottle. And so they're happy now because the bottle's coming. Woohoo, bottle's coming. But let's say the doorbell rings and you with that bottle, right? You go to the door and you don't drop the bottle off to the baby. You take the bottle with you. What does the baby do? Baby cries. Now I want you to imagine in that moment, let's say you're the baby, that in that moment, you put on a pair of earmuffs because you don't want to hear the doorbell, because doorbell means mommy goes away, daddy goes away, caretaker goes away. Whoever's bringing the bottle is now gone away. So you put big earphones on because you don't want to hear that doorbell. Okay. And then your stomach hurts. So you put on a big, giant, puffy sweater to protect your stomach because it hurts so bad, because you're so hungry, right? And then your heart is broken a little bit because they didn't come to you. They went to the door instead. So you put on another big sweater, okay? And then you don't want to see your caretaker mom, dad leave. So you put on a big pair of sunglasses, big blackout lenses, because you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that go away, right? You want the bottle. So now just imagine that cumulative effect over the years, that every single moment, and again, you're not aware of this. This isn't conscious. It's not like a baby's going, I will not feel this way. I will not be hurt that my mother just went away, and I will not cry. I'm so grown up. No, this is automatic, right? Remember, fear is automatic. It's part of our neurobiology. So I want you to imagine that now you're 28, 36, 42, 57, and you're wearing 180 pair of blackout lenses, 920 pair of earmuffs, 3,008 big giant puffy sweaters. And don't forget all the times you hurt your knee, your mother pushed you, again, whatever. And now we're talking about how much snow pants do you have on, right? So we literally, moment by moment, are being formed, being created. And again, let alone our DNA. So these things are so micro, we don't even know they're happening, but we're starting to adjust ourselves. And, part of that adjustment is, oh, it's not safe to be blank. I can't be blank. Again, I grew up in Upper Michigan, Upper Minnesota. I grew up Finnish, something called Sisu, right? Suck it up is our motto, right? Suck it up and Sisu are our mottos. And so you could not be a baby, right? You had to suck it up. You also couldn't feel. So what I learned moment by moment by moment by moment, and the part of me that I hid away, I'm telling you my essential nature now. This is not probably going to be your essential nature, but it's my essential nature. The thing that I wasn't safe to reveal in my family and in my neighborhood and in my community and at school and wherever else I was, let alone my DNA telling me you're not safe to do it. Because remember, DNA is part and parcel of this. Is I was told the part that I denied, the part that I hid, the part that I had to stuff down, the part of me that was not safe to show. For me, again, this is mine. Yours might be creative. Yours might be loving. You might be compassionate. You might be generous, might be beautiful. Mine is authentic. Being authentic was not accepted in my family. You had to play a role. You had to pretend. You had to suck it up. You had to be who they wanted you to be. I could not speak up. I mean, I don't remember when people talk about, when I'm on social media or at parties or something, and anybody talks about their family, or I read books about somebody talking memory about their family. I literally have zero memory of me and my father ever having a conversation. I remember me and my mother having some conversations, but again, it was not deep. Like there was no deep conversations in my family. It was task driven, and having feelings and being authentic and having your own opinion, not too welcome, not too welcome. So I, many years ago, basically knew that it was not safe to be authentic. And I hid that away, stuffed it down. Now, let's go back to today, right? Before I discovered my Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom. Do I admire authentic people? Why, yes, I do. Do I love authentic people? Yes, I do. Do I search for authenticity? Yes, I do. Do I want to be authentic? Yes, I do. But it is not safe for me to be authentic. Something bad's going to happen to me if I'm authentic. People will not accept me this way. They'll reject me. And I'll also see that I am really a loser. Remember, my Wheel of Fear trigger is loser. So inside of me, how I'm wired without this awareness is, if I do become authentic, it only will prove that I'm a loser. So my essential nature, I Rhonda Britten, my essential nature, the thing that I hid was authentic. Now, I don't know what you hid. It might be, like I said, compassion. It might be loving. It might be beautiful. It might be generous. It might be focused. But there was something that you could not express or be or see or have based on your DNA, based on how you grew up, et cetera, et cetera. It was not safe. So you created a mental model of how to live in the world. And that mental model, i.e. your filtering system, included this knowledge. Like, well, yes, I can be a straight A student, but I can't be authentic, right? You can be the perfect straight A student, but you can't be authentically a straight A student. You can only do things. Like I remember wanting to do things, learn things, right? Like I wanted to learn how to play the guitar because I sang growing up, and I always wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And I remember playing the guitar, and it's not easy to learn to play the guitar. It was hard. And so I quit. I quit after just a few lessons. I didn't know how to learn and get out of the box that I was in, because if I started, like, the fear is like, well, if she learns how to play guitar, who knows what she's going to say out loud, right? So you also hid something away from yourself a long time ago. Doesn't mean that you can't admire it in others. Doesn't mean you don't give it to others, but you can't do it for yourself when you're triggered. Remember, this happens. I can be authentic when I'm not triggered. I'm talking about when I'm triggered, authenticity goes out the window. Now, again, today I've been doing this work for over 25 years. So of course I can grab this and be authentic now. But before I discovered the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom, the minute I was triggered, this was the first thing to go. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Can't be authentic, play a role, be perfect, do what they want, smile. Again, I don't know what yours is. But for me, this is what I hid. So there are three other parts to our Wheel of Freedom, right? Up here is our proactive behaviors, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Over here, we have something called wholeness, which you are going to want to learn about because that is so fun, wholeness. And this is self-affirming. Remember on the Wheel of Fear, we had self-destructive? Well, here we have self-affirming. And we're going to talk about these two things in the next few days. So this is the Wheel of Freedom. And if you remember how we got off the Wheel of Fear, remember we could come into the Wheel of Fear, get off the Wheel of Fear at all 4 points, right? We could get off at the trigger, our fear responses, our core negative, and our self-destructive. Well, the Wheel of Freedom, you're always going to access it from here. You're going to come right here, and then you're going to move here, here, and here. And again, I'll explain all the parts in the next few episodes. Okay. Essential nature. The part of you that you hide the minute you get triggered. Again, you have access to it other times. So I could be authentic in certain times, but I could not be authentic. I could not be authentic um, when I didn't feel safe, right? I couldn't feel authentic. I could not feel authentic when I didn't feel safe. Okay. So this is you're creating your own safety. You're creating your own safety. So someone's asking, is there a limit to the essential nature list? Meaning, do you have to choose from a list of certain ones? Yes, Rachel, you do. So I did the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom for many years and started recognizing that there was themes and that people fell into certain themes, okay? Now, proactive behaviors, self-affirming, those might be very different from anybody else's. But the wholeness, the essential nature, the trigger, the core negative, those are from an actual list that I compiled and put into categories and really started seeing that everybody really fell into these 10 categories. So yes, you're gonna have a finite list, so it makes it a lot easier, a finite list to use and a lot easier to choose, right? Because you have 10 things to choose from. So you're gonna have 10 here, many things here, and many things here, okay? So you have 10 aspects of your essential nature. And as you start doing the exercises, again, you might think you know what it is right now. And hey, if you do, awesome, right? But you probably fear is gonna choose, right? Rachel says, because what comes to me is sensitivity. Well, there's a reason you can't be sensitive. So sensitivity is like, think of what is sensitivity stopping you from doing? Like, because you're sensitive, what is it that you couldn't have been? Could you not be authentic because you're sensitive, therefore you can't be authentic? You're sensitive, therefore you can't be compassionate with yourself. Therefore, if you're sensitive, you can't be loving to yourself. If you're sensitive, then you can't be generous with yourself. So sensitive, think of sensitive as the word that stopped you from living your essential nature. Think of the word sensitive as a fear response, okay? So people use that word as a fear response. So for me personally, same things. They didn't necessarily say I was sensitive. They did a little bit, but more it was like, you know, you talk too much, you do this, you do that, you're too much to this, to that, too much of whatever, you're just too much. So I actually believed I was too much. Okay, I believed I was too much, which meant, of course, I can't be authentic. Too much, then that means I'm going to be too much. So too much is a word that my family, friends, etc., used as a fear response to keep me small and in check. Sensitive for you, Rachel, was a word that people used around you to use against you. And then you probably picked it up, because I also picked it up. I picked it up. I'm oversensitive. I'm too needy. Picked up and started labeling yourself that. But you didn't think to yourself, I'm too sensitive when you were a 5-year-old or 7-year-old. You were just feeling. And then people labeled you that. And then you took it on because they said you're too sensitive, i.e. in relation to who? In relation to who? I grew up in Upper Michigan, Upper Minnesota, where nobody feels. I'm oversensitive to anybody up there, even if I said I loved you, right? So sensitive and too much were words that were used against us to control us. And they weren't doing it to be mean. They actually believed it was true, right? They had the best intentions at heart. They didn't do it purposely to be mean. That's just what they were afraid for you. They were afraid for me. Oh, Rhonda's too much. Oh, that Rachel's too sensitive. Got to toughen her up. Got to toughen Rhonda up, right? And that's what they thought they were doing. They thought they were doing a good thing. They didn't teach us how to manage our emotions, i.e. our sensitivity and being too much. They didn't know how to help us manage that. They didn't know how to help us process that. So they labeled it as bad. So I want you to think of sensitivity as a fear response that somebody put upon you that now you've labeled yourself, which gives you no access to your essential nature. Because every time you go towards your essential nature, what comes up for you, the Wheel of Fear says, well, see, you're being too sensitive. For me, authentic, you're too much. You're too much, Rhonda, right? Anytime I was authentic, it was like, you're too much. So that word is a level of, it doesn't mean, again, they didn't do it hurtfully. They just did it because they didn't know how to deal with our feelings and our emotions and our connection and our love and our aliveness, right? Yeah, exactly. I told I was too sensitive. It turns out to be my superpower. Sure, absolutely. when we're highly sensitive people or empaths, that can totally be your superpower. But you also have to know how to yield that in freedom, or wield that, I should say, wield that in freedom rather than in fear. I know a lot of people that use their sensitivity to control others, right? And we don't want to use our fear responses against ourselves and manipulate others with them. So I know, yes, we want to use, I want you to embrace your sensitivity. Yes, it is a superpower. And many people use it to manipulate others. Okay. Thank you for doing this. A lot of aha moments over the past several days, and I've had a good day for the first time in a while. Yay! Fantastic. That makes me so happy. So again, hopefully you're starting to realize, getting ahas, understanding that all of the problems you think you have, all the, I'm too slow, I'm too fast, I'm too weak, I'm too lazy, I'm too sensitive, I'm too whatever. I'm too much of a perfectionist, I'm too people pleaser, I'm too procrastinating, I'm too, again, whatever. Those are all just fear responses to keep you from accessing this, because this will set you free. This will set you free. But fear says, I've got a wall between Rachel and her freedom, which is, I can use the word sensitive and I own her, right? Rachel says, yes, exactly. Maybe mine is also authenticity. It might be compassion. It might be loving. We got to do some exercises to check that out. Laura says, labels can make us feel dismissed, less than. Absolutely. But think about how many times we label ourselves. I'm lazy. I'm sensitive, right? I even sometimes, like, I appreciate empaths and highly sensitive people as a way to understand yourself, but not as a way to manipulate the world around you to be the way you want it to be, right? So yes, it can be used as labels. Remember, let me add something to that label conversation. Remember, what does our brain do? Our brain wants to save energy. Labels save energy. Judgments save energy, because I don't have to think. I don't have to meet the person. I don't have to talk to the person. I can just label them something. They wear certain clothes. I can label them and not have to meet them and get to know them. They look that way. They go to that school. They have that kind of car. I can label them and I don't actually have to get to know them. I can put them in a box and that saves me energy. So remember, our brain and body, our neurobiology actually is wired to label. It's wired to do that. So we have to stay awake and move onto the wheel of freedom so that we don't label ourselves and others. But it is our natural auto-responding path, not our authentic way of being, but our automatic, our unconscious will automatically label to put people in boxes so we don't have to think, so we don't have to make effort, so we don't have to use energy. Because remember, if I have to meet somebody and get to know somebody, that takes energy. If I have to make a decision and actually think for myself without just following along, I have to use energy. Okay. Ooh, somebody's saying labels can make us dismissed. Great content. Thank you. Oh, yay. Do the exercise rather. Think that you know. Mine is different. Yes, Gladys says, you think, like a lot of people think they're the same as me because when I tell my story, obviously, you feel maybe a kinship to me. And again, it may be, but probably not. Probably not. You probably have a different one. Okay. So questions, comments, or thoughts at all from anyone before we complete for the day. And remember, this is just step one. We're going to go through all 4 aspects. And then at the end, we're going to put it all together. Yeah. We're going to put it all together. That's right. Somebody says the biggest thing I hid from myself was and is my voice. Yes, but what does that voice represent? So yes, your voice. Me too. My voice is my whole thing, right? Like my throat chakra is the #1 chakra that shuts down. Even to this day, when I get triggered, it's my throat chakra that shuts down, right? So what does that stop you? Like my fear goes, do not have a voice, because if you're authentic and say what you want and say what you mean, you will die. You will die, Rhonda. Right? Doesn't our society also promote labeling? Sure, it makes everything easy, right? If I can just call you a Republican or Democrat, or if I can call you black or white, or if I can call you rich or poor, if I can call you, white trash, if I can call you, right? Like if I can call you something, again, I don't have to get to know you. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think. I don't have to see the variety, the complexity, the essence of who you are. I can just shut it down, put you in a box, and treat you that way. So yes, our society does that, but we don't want to be run by society. We actually want to be full human beings, being who we really are, being in our wholeness, being in our humanity. We actually want to own ourselves, not let society to tell us what to do, right? Now that's easier said than done, of course, because fear is so clever. Fear is so clever. Fear is so clever. But we have outwit fear. So we are going to take our power back, right? Is there a difference between male and female? How do these lists of things show up and changing them? There is no different, Michael, between male and female. And also I get this question all the time. Like when I lived in London and did the wheels and worked with people in Europe, they'd be like, oh, well, it's different here. I'd be like, no, it's not. Because people have feelings, have feelings, have feelings, have feelings. We're all, yes, we may have different feelings about different things, but we still are alive and have feelings. So there is no difference between male and female, and there is no difference between cultures. You might have a different word for it. Maybe authentic isn't the cultural word that you resonate with, but the cultural word for authentic would resonate with you, right? But again, just remember, we all feel. We all have negative thoughts. We all have thoughts. We all have feelings. We all have body sensations. And those are the things that determine our future. Those are the things that we have to decide if they're going to be in charge of us or we're going to be in charge of us. Kelly says, goodness, I really need to hear this. Great reminders. Thank you. How many essential natures might we have? Oh, you only have one essential nature. You have one. Remember, in the wheel of fear, you have one trigger and one core negative feeling, but you have lots of fear responses and lots of self-destructive behaviors. Same here. You have one essential nature. That's it. You have lots of proactive behaviors. You have one wholeness, and you have lots of self-affirming behaviors. But you only have one essential nature. And this is the power of the wheel of fear and wheel of freedom, because you're not going, well, do I use this or this now? Do I do this or that now? No, you have two things, the trigger and the essential nature. It makes everything really clean, really clear, and really focused. And you see it really, I'm just going to say the word clear again. You see it really clearly. And when you can put everything in those two filters, life gets super easy, and it's not complicated anymore. And it's not like I should try this and I should try this and I should do this. No, simple. And you'll know what to do, which I think for me, freed me, right? Patty writes, I was told as a kid, you are to be seen and not heard. Basically what I got as well. Important to note how our DNA plays into a wheels, and we can shift into freedom more often with ease. Yeah. When you start really understanding that DNA is part and parcel of this, then you no longer start looking, well, what did my mother say? What did my father say? What did my caretaker say? What did my aunt say? What did my teacher say? What caused me to do this? We may never know. Don't worry about it. The DNA and your life experience all mix in, shake it up, and it pulls out your trigger and pulls out your essential nature. Okay. Okay, good. She goes, okay, I got it. All right, great. So any other questions? Any other thing that anybody wants to say to me before we complete? I'm excited to hear from you. Any questions? And of course, you can comment. You can comment no matter what, because tomorrow we're going to do another video, and I always like to go through the comments before I do the next video, the next episode, so that I can answer the questions that I see out there. Okay. So make sure that you ask me questions. I'm totally available and open to questions. And in fact, I just remembered I had a question. I had somebody ask me a question. Let me look real quick if I can find that. I forgot to leave that out. Let me look. See if I can find it. Okay. Oops. Here is a question I got yesterday. Oh, no, that's not it. Sorry. See if I can find it. Oh gosh. I put it in that special place, you know. All right, well, I'll have to answer it tomorrow because I can't find it now off the top of my screen here. So put your questions in and I will keep answering them as we go through this. But again, for the next 4 days, we're going to be on the Wheel of Freedom. Now, if you haven't seen the episodes with the Wheel of Fear, I invite you to go back and look at those so that you can see what they are and hear what it is, so that when we put it all together, it makes sense. My essential nature is very clear to me, always has. The Wheel of Fear of components, not so clear. Good. Marina says, I need to get the book. Yeah, Fearless Living, the book Fearless Living. You can do it on Audible with Hear My Voice, or you can get it on Kindle or in a bookstore, of course. All right. So Rachel says, when I have read the book, I often get stuck trying to choose the one. Yeah, because your wheel of fear is going to want to pick your wheel of fear, and your wheel of fear is going to want to pick your wheel of freedom. And you, my friend, cannot pick it, right? That's why we have coaches. That's why we have support. That's why we have classes. That's why we do it together, so that you can't trick yourself. You cannot trick yourself. I do not want you to trick yourself, okay? So anything else? Rachel says, now I have to wait another entire year to go to the in-person workshop. Oh, Rachel, don't worry. I've got something special coming up for you, Rachel. So I'm going to talk about it right now, and then I will give you more information over the next couple days. But I am going to lead, along with a group of my trainers, we are going to lead a live Fearless Living training program. So basically, I'm going to take you along with my trainers. There's an online version, so you're going to go online, but there's also a live component. And I'm going to lead that along with my trainers, and we're going to do it week after week after week. And anyone who signs up with me, and again, I'm not ready for you to sign up yet, but when you do sign up, there's going to be a couple things. One, everyone is going to get 3 coaching sessions with a private coach. That's normally not available at the lower price points, but it is going to be available for everyone, because I want every single person, if you want your Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom, I want you to have access to a coach. So you're going to be able to work with a coach to get your best wheels. Also, you're going to be working with me and my trainers week after week, and I'm going to be there right there, and my trainers are going to be right there to answer your questions, to support you to go through the modules, to help you really embody this stuff. Like, hello, is it the best time in the whole world to do this? I think the answer is yes, right? Right now, we have cracks in our foundation, and we need to patch those up. So also what I've included in this is that there is going to be 3 options to pay what you can afford right now. Pay what really works for you. So again, I'm going to be revealing this on Monday. So just in 3 more days, but just be thinking about, okay, do I want my wheels? And again, I've created a package that's going to support you in getting your wheels at a price point that I know can afford. I know it. So I've created incredible price points for you. I'm including coaching with all of them, so you do not get left behind and have to do it by yourself. Okay. So that is coming, Miss Rachel. That's Miss Coming. Lori says, I have to pull out the book again. Yes, you do. Rachel says, yes, I got the email. Great. Can you do so my UK clients can join in? Absolutely, Gladys. So we're going to be do it at a time. Is that what you mean? Can you do so my clients can join in? I'll have to think about that. Thank you for saying that. So let's think about that time and figure out the time. And I will, again, announce that on Monday. But just be awake. I have never offered this particular package this way before and at these price points. So if you have ever wanted to get your Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom, this is now the time. And again, we'll talk about this more on Monday. Right now, let's focus on the Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom. If you have not watched the episodes with the Wheel of Fear, please go back and watch those. Wheel of Freedom, we've got number 1, talked about essential nature. We'll talk more about it as we go through the other aspects of the Wheel of Freedom. And then we're going to come around and close it out. And then I'm going to share with you how they work together, so you can really see how you can use it in your life. Because that's really the most important thing. It's a nice model, right? But if you don't use it in your life, it really does you no good. And of course, I want you to use it in your life. I use it in my life every single solitary day. Every day I use these wheels, and they have changed my life. And I know they've changed the coaches' lives as well, and anybody else who studied with me. So just watch the Facebook page, of course, be in the Fearless You group. And I'm so excited to be joining you on this journey. So questions, comments, everyone saying thank you, Fearless Living Training Program. Thank you, Martin. Okay, anything else from anyone else before I virtually kiss you and virtually hug you? Gonna give you 5 more seconds. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, people are saying thank you. So please, at the end of every session, what do I want to hear every episode? I want to hear the number 1 thing you got out of it. So what's the number 1 thing you got out of today? What's the number 1 thing you got out of today? Please share that with me. That lets me know that I did my job. Lets me know you got value from spending time with me. Lets others know that you got value spending time with me. So go ahead right now and just write down the one thing that you got out of our time together. And I am so excited. This is such a highlight during these crazy times. Yes. So go ahead and tell me the one thing that you got out of our time together. Go ahead and write that in. And of course, add questions or comments down below. I'll be sure to read those before our session and episode tomorrow. So until then, what are you going to do? Yeah, that's right. You're going to practice being fearless. Great work, everyone. Thank you. Good work. Good work. Thank you. Good work. Thank you.